We are a family of 12 living in New York City, and all 10 of our kids play musical instruments.
Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about the Delamont family. It's TLC's newest big family. But before we jump into that, I want to just highlight for a moment how impressive it is that TLC never deprives us of a large family. They always have a new group of people for us to learn about, and usually find out that they are rather dysfunctional. We've seen John and Kate plus 8, the Duggars, the Browns, the Bates, the Bradys, now the Baldwins and the Delamonts. So they're not letting us down this season. We're getting the Baldwins and the Delamonts premiering on the same week. Let's go ahead and dive into some basics about this family. Amber and Marc have been married for 25 years. They met when Amber was 19 and Marc was 22. They are the parents of 11 children, ranging from 1 to 22 at the time of me making this video. The children are Josiah, Pearl, Elijah, Naomi, Noah, Anna, Chloe, Enoch, Melody, Moses, and Netta. But that list may continue to grow because Amber isn't opposed to having more children. There are a lot of similarities with the Delamonts to the Duggars, the Bates, the Plaths. They are, or they were, very religious and linked to fundamentalism. And they also enjoy music. But there are a few things that make them different. The first is just how motivated by music they are. This family has moved to different cities. They invest a lot of their money. And one of the biggest controversies around them is the fact that they have the children busking. If you're not familiar with that word, it means they are street performers. They put out a basket or open their music cases, their instrument cases, and people can throw money into it. They do this in order to pay for their lessons. So this is sort of a controversial thing. They have their children out doing this in order to get money. And there have been accusations that they have the children do this to earn money for the family. But Amber says all of this money is used for instruments and lessons. So if they want to be able to learn to play the instrument, to go to the classes, they have to help get that money to do so. This has been something that's sort of controversial. And I think what the real problem is, isn't that they're busking. I mean, I'm sure there are some people that have a problem with it, but where you really start to scratch your head is when you think about how the family has money of their own. Amber, her only means of income is social media. So she's out there with a YouTube channel. She has TikTok. She's on Instagram, but she doesn't have a traditional job. When it comes to Marc's employment, there seemed to be a little bit of instability. The family did move a few times. And Amber is very open about this. And this is one of those things that's going to be a lot different than with the other shows I mentioned, the Duggars, the Plaths, the Bates. Even though they might have had some sort of social media presence, it's going to be nothing compared to what we see with this family. Amber was making money from social media. She has a YouTube channel. She has TikTok. She answers these questions. She shows us her life. We know who they are before the show actually starts. So she has answered a lot of the questions about their income, them homeschooling. She does the grocery trips. She talks about them busking. She's very open. I think she tries to be transparent. I don't think that means they're going to be without controversy, because even when she is transparent, there is stuff I think people are not going to like about the choices they have made for their family. But I do think it's setting a little bit of a different tone than when we had like the Duggars. That was all presented to us in a very specific way. It was very curated. And then when we found out that wasn't who they were and there were all these flaws in their family, it felt very shocking. I almost feel like we're able to see the controversy before the show begins and already know how she is going to respond. I think one of the issues for me, and probably for a lot of people, we're going to watch this show and we're going to see this large family. They're living in very expensive cities. They're going from San Diego, San Francisco to Harlem. They're taking expensive lessons, playing expensive instruments, violins, cellos. Those are not cheap. They're pushing their kids to be successful, which is fine, but then you see this instability in income, and they're living in apartments and homes that are very small for this number of people. And when you go and follow them on social media, that is the one thing you will see, is when it comes to their house, that is where people have the most opinions, and they're the most critical of them. You guys can let me know down in the comments if you have followed them and you've seen the way their houses are set up. I will say this, for the most part, they live in nice homes and apartments. I've never looked at anything they've shown and thought, wow, that's disgusting. I mean, I think there's way, way worse living conditions than the Delamonts have ever had with their family. People seem to be critical of the space issue and privacy. That seems to be the bigger issue with them. I'm sort of in the middle. I would like to hear what the kids have to say. But if you guys have any opinions, let me know down in the comments. Because music is a big part of this family, I do want to talk a little bit more about that. When it comes to Marc and Amber talking about the kids playing instruments, they say that it gives the kids purpose, drive, and structure. Marc adds that it keeps them out of trouble. So for them, they see all of this as very positive. When it comes to all of the children playing, because that was something I sort of questioned, what are the odds you have 11 children and all 11 children want to play a string instrument? And they really want to do it. And they want to do it so much that they don't mind going outside and standing and playing to earn money for their lessons. According to Amber, what happens is when she has a new baby and it grows up and it's a toddler and it's young, it sees the older children playing and then wants to participate. So this child is really motivated to want to play with the siblings in the family, which is completely possible. I still question if every child is so motivated that they want to go to Juilliard and that is their goal. But according to Amber, it just works out that way. And it's not just a situation where they're motivated to play and can take lessons with some local instructor or some college student that's offering classes for, $20. These kids are really talented and they begin to move on and past the opportunities that are available to them in different cities. So the family at one point was living in San Diego. They felt like they needed more musical opportunities for the kids, so they moved to San Francisco. And then they sort of felt like they outgrew that. One of the kids was going to school at the Manhattan School of Music. The other kids were trying to get into Juilliard, and so they made the move to Harlem. That is what we're going to see in this show. We're going to see them adjusting to life in Harlem and seeing them all continue to pursue music. I'm going to stop here and put in a brief clip of Amber mentioning that they moved from San Diego to San Francisco for musical purposes, just so that you guys can hear it from herself.
We sold our house and we were planning on purchasing another home in the Bay Area because we moved to the Bay Area because we kind of capped out our music, the music advancement that was possible. In San Diego, we capped it out. So we moved to San Francisco.
So there you have it from Amber's mouth. They do move for the children to be able to have access to better lessons and opportunities. So from my perspective, this is one of those situations where, yes, the kids like it, but the parents have to be, in some capacity, pushing this a little bit, because you're not just going to move your whole family to a new city and then another city because the kids like to play music. To me, there has to be some really motivated parents there. I also don't think it's a coincidence that we see all of these religious large families pushing for their kids to play and play publicly, like the Duggars and like the Plaths. It's like they're trying to have the Von Trapp family. Yeah, there's something there to that. You can't convince me otherwise. But with this family, I will say they are very motivated to be well trained and be able to play classical music, which makes them a little bit different from the Plaths and the Duggars. There is no way I could make this video without bringing up their faith It is something that you immediately pick up on, and it's not just because they're a large family. There's also just this overall aesthetic, and it's sort of easy to recognize. You got the large family, homeschooling, playing instruments. They're all wearing these earthy tones most of the time, and then the girls are in skirts or dresses. People have asked her about this. She is very open about it. She also has a 50-minute video over on the YouTube channel, which is called The Happy Caravan, and it talks about their religious background. I'm going to give you guys a very brief summary, just in case you don't want to go over and watch that. Basically, for 15 years, the family attended an independent fundamental Baptist church. The Delamonts did not attend the IBLP, which is the Institute of Basic Life Principles, and that is what we see the Duggars attend. And really, that is not a church, it is an organization, and then you would have a church that you attended. The church that the Delamonts attended was very appealing to people that participated in the IBLP because their church said skirts only, no rock music, even if it was Christian rock music. One thing that made their church a little bit different from the IBLP was that it did not encourage large families. So this family, being a large family, was done on their own accord. Like, this is what they chose for themselves. According to Amber, the church that they attended did not necessarily encourage a large family. People that were going to their church that also participated in the IBLP teachings would have large families. But what I really want to focus on is the similarities, like the skirts and the no rock music. Their church was appealing to those people. So if you were in the Duggar family, you might have wanted to attend this church. I said might have, you guys, not that they did. But what I'm trying to point out that there's some similarities, but they were not the same. The church they attended was not the IBLP. Amber and Marc did not go to IBLP meetings and events. Around the end of their time at that church, Amber had found out that someone new working there, someone in a leadership role, had been accused of inappropriate behavior with a minor. Now, I want to say something. When I'm saying inappropriate behavior, nothing criminal. We're talking about grooming. According to what she says, the accusations were that there was a lot of grooming and unnecessary contact, but nothing criminal. And then when this young person would turn 18, he would then try to have contact with them. So it wasn't criminal behavior, but it was inappropriate. She was uncomfortable with that. So she went to her pastor and brought it up. And he was dismissive. He said he had vetted this person. He felt like this person was okay. Amber says she doesn't think her pastor was necessarily someone who was trying to hide something or be secretive. She believes he was too nice. Like, he was sort of gullible and then trying to offer refuge to someone that was wrongly accused, when instead he should have assumed it was true before he put this person back in a role where they had access to young people. She doesn't have any bad feelings about the pastor. She was, according to her, he just was too nice. He was someone that would believe someone if they said they were wrongly accused. So this happens, and at that point, it sort of changed things for her. She no longer felt comfortable there. So as they're moving and moving on, they eventually leave that church. They do still attend church, but it is not a fundamentalist church. They're not at a church where you have to wear skirts. They can listen to the music that they want to listen to. The one thing I will tell you about Amber is, as a viewer, and being someone that's viewed other people, like the Duggars, Amber has the ability to look back and go, oh, I made a mistake. That shouldn't have happened. I wish it wasn't like that. There was a point where she was talking about being a member of that church where she acknowledges that she felt like some of the stuff they did that had an underlying racism. She's like, oh, they would say that African music was problematic. Well, why African music? All kinds of music has a beat included in it. You know, all kinds of music will make people dance. So she can look at something and be critical of it and admit that it wasn't right and admit that it was a mistake, that they needed to leave. I feel like the Duggars, Mom and Dad Duggar, Jim Bob and Michelle, it felt like they doubled down and they went into hiding when things started to happen. It would have went a long way with me if they had came out publicly and been like, you know what, we were wrong. We were so wrong and we made a mistake. I feel like Amber admits when they needed to move on, admits when things weren't going well. That is the part of her that I like. I think she's going to do a little bit better with the public because she talks about the choices they made and why they made them. So I'm really looking forward to this show. So that's just a brief glimpse of them. I'm definitely going to be recapping these episodes, talking about them. You guys can let me know what you think down in the comments. I look forward to reading those. And if you haven't already, I hope you'll click like and subscribe.